Hello YouTube, Mewtwo here again with what will eventually be a package and pickups video and my first in front camera. But before we get to that, some housekeeping. Last week I put up the competition winner video and it was, you'll probably be obviously noticed that it was my first video in front of camera instead of behind camera. And there was lots of good comments and feedback and whatnot. And generally people says, yeah, that was better. Now, I always intended to do it, to do my videos where I would be in front of the camera, but I don't have an actual camera setup or a camera stand or anything like that. I'm currently using my phone, and it's got a pretty decent camera for a phone, but there's several limitations that go with that. First of which being, well, you can't really attach it to a stand, so keeping anything like steady is really hard. And hence in all my videos from my first package of pickups onward, it's been like shake, 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 shake. Although interestingly, YouTube seemed to have introduced some sort of anti-shake detector or effect onto the video editing on YouTube. So I tried that out on my last trades video. It sort of worked. I could see it did reduce it, although in some cases it jittered a bit too much. It wasn't able to compensate quite right, and it looked a bit unnatural. But anyway, that's totally off topic. So, I mean, currently, how am I doing the video today? Well, basically, I have a chair, and I have a big box, and then I have another little box, and I have my camera, my phone, with like a stapler holding it up so that I can do a video in front, and then having to kind of press it on, and then sit down before the timer, and then at the end get up and turn it off. So I'll probably end up blocking the camera as I turn this off at the end. The reason why you wouldn't have seen that type of stuff in the competition one, if you watched it to the end, was that I reconverted it and then edited out the beginning and the end. But that's really laborious. I didn't. What I want was kind of shooting the other pickup stuff. It's very much just kind of like one shot to kind of do. So you 15 minutes effort, that type of thing. You don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours, particularly when you're me and you don't seem to have enough time in the day to play the games, let alone to to talk about buying them. So for that reason, I kind of been sticking to behind the camera as well. And that raises a question that I have basically to anyone out there. And what software do you use to make or to edit your videos? Now, my videos tend to be recorded in MPEG-4 video codec, and the problem with that is that most of the software that I can edit with doesn't support MPEG-4. So I tend to have used Windows Movie Maker and Virtual Dub from time to time. But to use it in either of those, I end up having to convert it to Xvid. And that's just tedious having to do it, and sometimes it fails. Like I was doing a video at the weekend, and this is why I'm doing this video, because I just couldn't get that to convert. The audio ended up like super sped up in comparison to the video, so it was a mess. So anyway, if you have any tips on software, leave a comment. I definitely really appreciate that, because it kind of takes the fun out of doing them. Next port of business, as it were. Again, people had said, great to be in front, but unlike a lot of people, I don't have my collection behind me or anything. The background is just plain. It's really boring. But that's because I'm just shooting in a living room. Nothing exciting to see. So in order to add a little colour, shall we say, I brought along a little friend. Hey, pink is a colour too, So a little colour, perhaps. Anyway, that's more of just a little side thing. The real other thing was something that's nearly gone out of my head. What was it? I'm sure it'll come back to me. It doesn't. Oh, now I remember. God, I could edit that out, but I won't, because that goes back to my first point about editing software and being troublesome. People seem to think that I sounded a lot older than I look or than I am. I'm not too sure why that is. People seem to think I was probably about 45. I'm not even 30. I'm nearly 29. So Yeah, that's like only 66% of the way to 45. I didn't really think that I sounded that old. Maybe I do. I'm going to pretend that I just sound so wise and knowledgeable about what I'm talking about. But maybe I just sound old and crotchety. Back in my day, games only had two buttons and we were glad of it. But no, it's probably just, I don't know what it is. So, apparently it was a surprise. I guess that's a good example of when you look at videos on YouTube and they're behind camera. There's always that curiosity. What does the person like? And kind of put a face to the voice, as it were. And so there we go. Apparently, it's a younger face to the voice. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. On with the good stuff. Now, a little bit of a change of pace for me. Normally, it's all European stuff because that's what my consoles are. But this time around, I was kind of on eBay and I was, to tell the truth, I was actually shopping for the Sega 8-bit Secret Santa that we're doing. And as I was shopping, I came across stuff for myself. It's not always the way you're doing your Christmas shopping for someone else, and you kind of go, kind of like that. And this is the case with a few of these items. I'll just get on with them. So, first up is a Super Famicom game, Parlor Mini 4. And as I said, I don't have a Super Famicom, but this was like £2. And I just thought, it's in pretty much mid condition. In fact, it is in mint condition. The Super Famicom games seem to have maintained a lot better than the equivalent European games. Like the manual is pristine and full colour. I just love full colour manuals in general. It's a pity that there isn't any sort of crazy artwork in this one. And I mean, this is obviously going to be really heavily Japanese, so definitely I'll never be able to play it. It's even got that little warning instruction book. And again, better that they had the plastic tray to keep the boxes in good condition and to keep the cart safe. That's probably part of the reason why Famicom boxes have weathered the years better than the equivalent Super Nintendo ones. Because one thing that puts me off collecting Nintendo stuff is the boxes. They're just ridiculous. I mean, pretty much, you're nearly as well off just going for a cart collection. I shouldn't really be looking down the whole time when camera's on. But yeah, I love the cover. And I says, okay, that's just something different to have in the collection. And at £2, I don't know, less than a coffee. But keeping to the theme then, and again for £2, it's a Japanese Mega CD game. And this is called Quiz Scramble Special. And honestly, it's probably another one of the games super full Japanese. No way I can ever pronounce this. I should also mention, I don't have a preview on this camera, so I'm just kind of going, ugh. And for all I know, you can't see this at all. But I'm going to hope that it's coming out okay. Again, look at the artwork though, if you can see it. You man with the crazy goggles, you one with the short skirt tigers, and all these different crazy looking animals. That tiger looks really pissed. It's just for a quiz game that does not say Trivial Pursuit, does it? So, and this is even better. Only in Japan. If you can see the disc, the whole thing is in great condition inside, perfect. Probably never played, but suggestive. Japanese for sure. Yeah, she's riding a lizard. And I don't know, is this even better? He's riding like, was it a rhino or a hippo? I'm not entirely sure. Eating ice cream, as you do. Oh, and she's holding the moon. Well, she got to hold something round, ball shaped while she's riding the lizard, eh? Stepping totally away from that because, I mean, how do you follow that? Video over. Japanese lady on a lizard. Video over. It came with this, and this was in the listing. I didn't have a clue what it was on about. It seems to be some sort of spine card, and it seems to like wrap around the artwork like that if you were to put it outside. I've no idea what that's for. Okay, it's in it, great. And I'm sure there was some sort of reason for them including it. But again, and this is the example of the Japanese stuff. Full colour, even from Sega, and like Sega, Jesus, we're so bad for doing this. But the manual is just crazy, like a comic kind of strip to explain the quiz show. And it's typical, like, but another perfect example. Her brain is like, I don't know, they trying to dissect it or something. I'm sure it's meant to be like, you know, the mental quiz part. And moons again, she's grabbing more moons. So, and the rest is again more comic stuff. It's just, you know, they just are so much more appealing than the very bland, you know, Western releases. And I'm not really going to go into collecting them too much, but when I seen these for £2 a piece, I said, you can't go wrong with that. Again, it just, if nothing else, it's just something bizarre to talk about. And again, I'm looking down. But moving on, final Japanese one then, and this is Wonder Boy. Now I know a fair bit about the Wonder Boy series, and even I had to look at that and say, well, geez, it's Wonder Boy 3, but which Wonder Boy 3? It's Wonder Boy 3 Monsters Lair. It's kind of like, sort of like a platform game, sort of like a shoot 'em up, if you kind of merge the two of them together in a crazy psychedelic way. Now this is a little fading, it's not perfect condition, but again, you know, a couple of quid, I'm not going to really complain about that. Oops, a bit of a cartridge falling out. And it is complete. Again, very colourful cartridges. I know a lot of people are fans of these cartridges actually, but to be honest, while I do prefer kind of interesting artwork, I don't really like the shape of these cartridges all that much. I don't like these extra bulbous bits. You know, I actually quite like the Western cartridges, so can't win them all, eh? Oh, damn, I should really have taken this out so there'd be less looking down. And again, full colour manual. It's like it's the law over there. No cheapskating, please. There's not as much interesting artwork in this one, but it's just nice anyway. Nice little ad at the back. It's a pity the cover of the manual is actually self-typed on, but you have like an advert for the Game of Gear. And some of the games can be out, G-Lock, Wonder Boy, and something, presumably some Mei Yon game, or however you pronounce that. And you gotta love the end bits though. No, don't turn off. Don't stamp on your pack. Don't look at the connector, because, you know, it's like Medusa, it'll turn you to stone. And spraying is so cool. The sun is clearly evil and will try and kill you and your game. Beware of it. If you've played Mario 3, you know that to be true. So, I mean, video games do teach you valuable lessons in life. And I think they should be in the school curriculum. I mean, you could be innocently wandering along, and if you haven't played a game, you're not going to know about the evil sun. And then just a random girl, I don't know, crazy stuff. So anyway, that's Wonder Boy. And when I picked this up, around that time I was picking it up, because some of these are kind of backlogged a little, I seen a video by Tutu UK, where he picked up this game here, but I think it was actually the PAL release, and he also picked up this game, Wonder Boy and Monster World. And again, I cheated, I looked, because I'm always prone to say Wonder Boy and Monster Land, because, you know, they want to make the titles so distinct and clear from each other. So I actually picked this up locally, and funny enough, I paid as much for this as I did for all of those last games. This was like $6.95 locally. I don't mind paying a little more locally, but you know, I don't want to go crazy on it all the same, because, you know, most of these games are common enough. But this is a really good game. It starts off fairly slow, particularly compared to some of the other Wonder Boy games. And the reason for this is rather kind of stupidly, I think. You have boots in the game, and they affect your walking speed. So the better the boots, the faster you walk. But it's effectively then you start off with these really, really crappy. It might even start off barefoot, or am I thinking of Wonder Boy Monsterland? No, I think you have some boots anyway at the beginning, and they're really slow, so you're kind of chugging along, and your sword has got this tiny little, hit area. So it kind of can be a little off-putting at first, but it's not the best Wonder Boy game by any means. But give it a chance. When you get into it, it's a really good game. It kind of mixes the action, with a little bit of RPG, but not so much that people who are like, oh, I don't like RPGs, would really be put off in the long run. There's some back of the box. I don't know if I should. I think I did show back of the box of those. And again, it was complete. Otherwise, I wouldn't pay £7 for the game. It's fairly common. So I just thought it was coincidental that, in a way, we picked up the same games in a similar time frame. Now, Japanese games, Mega Drive games. That's probably, if you've seen my previous packaging pickups video, you're probably going, but where's the Sega Master System? Well, don't worry, I haven't forgotten it. Just a couple of pickups then from Master System this time around. First up is eSWAT. I've got over 200 games for the Master System, unique games. And I find it funny how somewhat commonish games can still escape your grasp till near the end. On one hand I have some trickier to get titles like Power Strike 2 and Sonic Spin Ball and Championship Hockey, and then I didn't have eSWAT. That's just the way it goes with collecting. It's actually quite interesting to see how, when the collector's list shrink, there can be times where you have relatively common ones. If you do, I think that's definitely a good position to be in. Back of the box. I kind of like the artwork actually. People often complain about the Master System artwork, but I don't know, I think that, there's a reasonable size graphic on it. You can tell this is middle era. And completion, good condition. And I actually got that at the same time as another game I needed. That's Streets of Rage 2. And I know a few people picked this up at the moment. I can't remember if it was Tifa UK or X-File, but I know a few people picked up this. It is a good port, given the limitations of the system. Sadly, the 2-player is gone, but all the characters are there, the levels are there. They've done a fairly good job of compressing a relatively high-end 16-bit title onto the 8-bit hardware. And well, it's not as compelling. It's certainly something that if you had owned a Master System back in the day and you didn't have a Mega Drive, I don't think you'd be really kind of getting shafted with it's just a crappy throwaway title. The back of the box, if you can maybe see the screenshots you can see. Now, something I've always wondered, why is blazing white? Had they not decided? Did the guy doing the artwork gone, I don't like red. I've used red in his pants, I don't want it to clash. But it's just wrong. Blaze should be in red. And again, complete and in really nice condition. Actually, this one is pretty much perfect current manual. Now, I picked up the two of these with a few other games in a bundle, so it's kind of hard to tell the actual cost, but roughly, including all in, they probably came to maybe £5-6. So to Ireland, shipping can be a bit troublesome. That's pretty good. So one last item, and that is something that I really wasn't, kind of going out of my way to get this, but it kind of popped up, and is a Competition Pro professional control pad for the Sega Master System. Now, I had a Mega Drive Competition Pro, and that's the one that I used. It's a 6-button Competition Pro, and I use it on the Mega Drive and generally for the Master System. But of course, not all games work with a Mega Drive controller. So, Master System games. Some games you have to have a Master System controller for. And the original ones, they're just not very good. And even things like the arcade controller is just weird. I can't understand what they were doing with that controller. So I had it in the back of my mind, at some point, I must look for one of those alternative third-party controllers and pick one of those up. And then this one cropped up, and it was actually in brand new condition. Everyone was sealed on the inside. I was surprised when it came in the post. Actually, it was so small. I don't know what the hell. But it just shows you, you know, you're used to modern day controllers as well, how small they were. I've already opened it up, so I'm not keeping that sealed like some other items. This is definitely for use. And there we go. So it has the two buttons, but they're actually at an angle compared to the flat line, which, yeah, that's interesting. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but not too bad. And it has a D-pad on a kind of single rotation plate, a bit more like the Mega Drive controller. Not exactly the same because there's not as much, there's not as big a gap and there's not as big an area for the disc to move. So it does have a bit of a different feel. But again, compared to the original Master System controller, it's a big step up. It also has these like auto fire, turbo fire buttons. Honestly, I'm sure they're so useful. Never used them. The one thing I did find a bit interesting was why are they purple on there and yellow, orange or whatever they are, probably yellow, on the actual controller itself. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I was just playing Wonder Boy Monster Land, not to be confused with the other Wonder Boys. A great game, but it doesn't work with the Mega Drive controller. And yeah, I was definitely enjoying it more with this now, I have to say, than with the original controllers on the system. And there's other games that are, I enjoy that would be the same, things like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and a few others. So the seller actually had a load of them. I seem to be selling more than 20 of them at the time, and I couldn't believe it. They were located in Ireland. I don't think I've ever bought anything retro from eBay in Ireland. So I just emailed them and says, well, how much will you be? They were like a tenner, €10, I think it was. And how much will it be to ship to Ireland? So he said, because he was doing a best offer thing, he said, look, leave it at 11 and I'll ship it from Dublin to Dublin. And when I got it and I looked at the price of the postage, it was like nearly €3. I was like, wow, that's expensive shipping within the same county. You know, not even the same country. It's the same, you know, it's probably within 10 miles, no more than 20 miles. And anyway, he was a great seller. I think his name was Raj. I can't remember his eBay username. But if anyone's interested, I might try and dig it up, see if he's has any more he's left, because if you do play with a power-based converter and you're experiencing difficulties with your games, I'd recommend picking up one of these to kind of to make, you know, the more of the library compatible. Particularly when a game like Wonder Boy doesn't work, it's a great game and one of the highlights of the system. So you're kind of missing out without a decent pad. And I remember back in the day when you're younger, you'd always pass over the accessories in favour of, well, getting a new game. But sometimes you kind of need the accessory. I really should have actually taken out my Competition Pro Mega Drive controller to do a comparison, but I mean they're great controllers in general. I mean, they don't come on 64 sticks and everything. If you have a Competition Pro controller, they're normally pretty damn good. Anyway, I've totally waffled on enough about that. So I'll leave it there, and if you have any feedback about, you know, doing packaging pickups in front of the camera, maybe I end up waffling too much, or maybe it's better that, you know, it's not so shaky and I can open up the games properly, please let me know, leave comments and all that. If not, hopefully I'll have a video up fairly shortly. I'm working on a slightly different video, and as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you again soon.